One of the main issues of mankind is the problem of rejection and self-rejection. Everyone, I don't know anyone who hasn't, has a problem to some extent with rejection and self-rejection. Expressing himself in many ways is insecurity, in trying to bring fake identity, in a kind of pride, but it's based on insecurity. Everyone has it, and everyone surely has it on a psychological level, meaning it's something in our personality. Many people, however, also have it on a demonic level, meaning they live under a kind of torture, and that might express themselves in the extreme case even in suicidal behavior, suicidal thoughts, and real suicide. So let's first try to define what rejection and self-rejection is. It is a sickness, or it might be a demonic thing based on the fact that we were not unconditionally loved in our youth. Even if you had very good parents, if you had parents that loved you, that were believers, then still in life you have some effects of rejection. First of all, because your parents express their love based on your behavior. You can be naughty or you can be sweet or rude. They express their love based on your results at school. And by the way, the whole school system is based on criticism, meaning to tell you what is not good, what is not good enough, and what should be improved. So everyone has a problem there, that the love that we receive was never unconditional. So everyone has an issue there. Now it can be extreme. So extreme that it even leads to suicidal behavior. And the rejection can start at any point after conception. So I would like to give you some examples to answer. Those examples are real. They come from things that you will experience about how rejection can start. So first of all, imagine a couple, they're happily married, and for the first 3-4 years of their marriage, there wasn't any pregnancy, and so they want a child so much. And then suddenly, the woman notices, I am pregnant. And she tells her husband, and both of them are so happy, so happy. And I can imagine the husband putting his hand on the belly of his wife and saying to the child that's not even there, not even hearing, saying, we welcome you, whether you are a girl or a boy, however you are so welcome in our family. We have been waiting for you, and we bless you from the very start. I can imagine the woman is talking to her own belly to bless that child and to speak words of love, even when the child is not yet born. So this child is covered with love. And that means that any kind of evil spirit that's hanging around, and they do hang around, they're like mosquitoes, they're like flies, stay away from that overdoses of love. They don't want to be near that child. So this child has a great chance to develop with very limited rejection issues. Now I want you to imagine another young couple. They are not married, maybe they're pretty young. They go into a sexual affair outside the laws of God, and suddenly the girl tells her boyfriend, I am pregnant. And he says, oh no. Maybe he will first say, well, it's not mine, could be. Then he denies his fatherhood. But even if he acknowledges his fatherhood, he says, kill it, kill it. We can't have a child. It will destroy our careers. We cannot finish our school, our education. I don't want a child. Even to the point that he says, if you don't abort, I'm going to leave you, because I don't want to carry the irresponsibility of having a child. So the father, who is destined by God to be the protector of unborn children, born children, to be the protector of his wife, the protector and provider, he leaves his position and even speaks words that you could call curses. You must die. I don't want you. I reject you. Maybe he doesn't say it that way, but that is what he implies. And so there are certain spirits, very interested, spirits that we call spirit of death, spirits that we call spirits of rejection. And so they will invade that child that's completely unprotected. There's no layer of love around it, no protective layer around this unborn child. So immediately, this child is affected by spirits of rejection and self-rejection and death. By the way, rejection and self-rejection, the self-rejection follows the rejection. Why? Because the child, when it feels rejected, and it doesn't have a way of reasoning, thinks, why am I not loved? There must be something wrong with me. So there comes the self-rejection. But the self-rejection is always a consequence of the rejection, in this case, by the parents. I'll explain it a little bit deeper. If you take a piece of meat that's too old and it's stinking and smelling, and you put it in a room, within 5 minutes, it's covered by a kind of flies that you might have never seen in your life. It's a kind of flies that smell the smell of death from a long distance, and they need some decaying flesh to lay their eggs there. And so they all know how to find that place, that piece of rotten meat. Something similar is with demons. Demons have a kind of smell, and so when they smell death, when the father says, this child must die, when the father says, I reject this child, then immediately spirits with that name, rejection and death, jump on that child, because that's the place where they can prosper and do their destructive work. You understand, if the mother decides to agree with the abortion, kill the child, okay, that's the ultimate rejection, and the child is already killed. It isn't even born yet, so it's murdered. It's murdered, which is the ultimate result of rejection. But suppose the mother doesn't feel like aborting the child, and so she keeps the child. So the child is indeed raised without a father, but it's raised by a loving mother who tries to do her best. But the mother might not realize this child has already a demonic burden of rejection and self-rejection. I come straight to the next step. Everywhere in the world, children are given up for adoption. Why? Mostly because the father didn't want the child, preferred it to be aborted. The mother doesn't feel like killing it, but she feels incapable of taking care of it, so she gives it up for adoption. Every adopted child suffers from spirits of rejection. Every adopted child, in fact, needs deliverance right away. Statistically, we see that adopted children underperform compared with their non-adopted siblings. They underperform. Often they do not perform at all, easily get addicted, rebel, have all kinds of personality problems. So we see statistically in the life of adopted children that something goes wrong. And you might not be aware of the spiritual dimension. The child might not even know it's adopted, because when it happens at a very early age, the child might not know it's adopted, but yet it underperforms. Yet there's a certain level of insecurity. It seems that the child is predestined for trouble. But it's nothing else but the spirit of rejection. And that is dealt with right after the adoption, immediately. It can be done while the child is asleep. It can be done in a language that the child doesn't understand. We don't need to take a hard stone like, in the name of Jesus, we cast out spirit of rejection. That's not needed at all. Demons have very good ears, but they have then to know that they are discovered, that they are detected, and they have to leave. So when there's a child that is adopted, in fact, right away after adoption, it needs ministry. It needs ministry against the spirit of rejection, maybe even the spirit of death. And if this child comes from another culture and comes from parents of another religion, you have to deal with that as well. Because every person in life has in some way a spiritual burden of the culture you came from. If the child comes from China, surely it has some kind of burden of Taoism or Buddhism. Same with the children of Thailand, they have some burden of Buddhism. And children that come from Islamic world surely have some burden of Islamic spirit. And they need to be delivered of that as well. When a child comes from your own culture, from your own country, you should investigate what was the condition of the mother and the father so that the child was given for adoption. Could be the mother is a drug addict, so the child might even have a kind of rehab from drug addiction. But anyway, if the mother was a fornicator, the father was a fornicator, we should deal with those spirits as well, generational spirits. We should deal with that as well. But okay, back to the subject of rejection proper. So rejection, self-rejection, spirit of death can start right after conception when the parents are not happy with the conception, not happy with the unborn child. And so as they are chosen by God, as they are destined to be the protectors, defenders, the providers, if they do not fulfill that role, evil spirits, spirits of rejection, followed by self-rejection, spirits of death can easily be there. So I'll come up with another story. A woman came in our ministry. She had spent a big part of her life in mental ward and had 3 suicide attempts. And so my first question upon seeing her and prophesying over her was, were you loved at birth? And she said, oh no, not at all. She came from a rural environment in Eastern Europe, where it's very important that a rural family, a family of farmers, has boys to succeed in the farm for the next generation. So what is the case here? Mostly the oldest son marries into the home of his parents. He brings his wife into the home of his parents because he is going to succeed his parents on the farm and help them at their old age. But if they have children, it's very important that, again, a boy is born, because that one will take over the farm in the following generation. If girls are born, well, people are not that happy, because girls will leave the family upon marriage. They will leave, they will become part of another family, but boys will stay there and bring their wives in. So in this case, there's the young couple that lives with the parents, and so the girl gets pregnant, the young lady gets pregnant, and she gives birth to a girl. Okay, nobody is happy, but in every culture, people know that statistically half of their children is girl. Okay, so they're not very happy, but that can happen. It can happen that a girl is born. Not what they wanted for, but it's okay. So when she gets pregnant again, you know, the expectations are high, feelings are high. This time it must be a boy. Well, a girl was born. It's the woman that sits in front of me. Nobody was happy. Nobody was happy. And the grandmother of the girl, who is involved in some kind of local witchcraft, gets so angry that she takes the baby right after birth, wraps a wet cloth around the head so that it cannot breathe, and throws it in the stable between the cows. She has no courage to kill it herself, but by making the child to suffocate, it will die by itself, and if it doesn't die quick enough, the cows will surely step on it, and it will die because of the cows. The mother, who just gave birth, didn't know that. She didn't know that at all. But she is surprised that after some time she didn't hear her baby cry, who is in the next room. Supposedly should be in the next room. So she gets out of bed and goes to the next room where the crib is and doesn't find her baby. So her first thought is, maybe grandma took the baby to show it to the neighbors. That could be possible. I mean, the birth of a child is always a reason of joy. So maybe she is showing it to the neighbors right now. And so she's looking around. She doesn't see the grandma, so she takes a run to the nearest neighbor and asks, "Did you see grandma with my baby?" And the neighbors are very surprised and say, "Well, we didn't even know a baby was born yet. No, we didn't see her." So she goes to the other side, finds the neighbors there, and asks, "Did you see grandma with my baby?" And they give the same answer. "We didn't know a baby was born." So she returns home and starts panicking and thinks, "Where is my baby? Where did grandma bring it?" So in her search all over the house, she also enters the cow stable, finds her baby there. Baby is blue, but it's not dead. So she takes away the cloth from the mouth, and the baby is saved for life.